Oh, that one was a bitch! What a...
Now, there aren't many days that I'm wishing it was over 90 degrees, but today is one of them. Reason is, I don't have to use the heat box or the heat gun or anything. I'm going to snap on a new Michelin 3 front tire onto the 650 Kawasaki. And by letting it sit out in the sun here and just let it cook, it'll make our job a lot easier. Since we don't use a tire machine, we do it without tools. Now, just a couple of days ago, we wound up doing some other work that we had to take the front wheel off the bike. I think it was the Suzuki. Oh yeah, we swapped the discs. But today what I want to do is, and I already pulled the front wheel. Pulling a front wheel on this bike is kind of a nuisance. It really is a, well, you need a special tool. I made a tool, and, or I guess you could buy it from Kawasaki. What I did, I took a 1/2-inch socket and ground the corners off so I could pull this axle. And if you can't do that, you pretty much make yourself crazy, or you have to put a bolt with extra nuts and everything. They don't make it easy for you, but they haven't been able to outsmart me yet. Anyway, the next step on this is we're going to pull, and we're going to change the tire valve out too. We're going to get rid of that. Now, changing this and trying to check the air with your hand in here and the thing going through there, when I put the Curvy Girl on there, it'll be so much better. So much better. And we got about 9,000. It's in the high 8s out of this tire, but it's ready. And actually, the last time I rode it, I was thinking maybe I shouldn't even be riding it. But if you don't know, these are the bars. When you see these bars come flat with the tire, and I like to do it a little bit before. But once that happens, the handling on the bike gets a little funky. It falls into corners. It's amazing how much, if the front tire of a bike, once it's worn, how it affects the handling. A fresh new tire, and I hope that tire that we're going to snap on there, it's a Michelin 3. Now, I've been putting Michelin 3s on the rear of all these bikes, and now we're going to start putting the 3s on the front. I really like the way the 3s handle. And what I do, I always keep all my tire changing stuff in a, and by the way, I just got some new rim protectors. This is a tool at Chuck. Well, we haven't had time to even try it. But basically, I have a limited time today. I want to give it a fair test when we're doing the tire, and I have somebody here to do the work while I do the video. That we now have a spare. We want to take and this is a handy thing to have. It's a thing for opening dies in a molding shop. Like I said, the good thing about having everything in one spot here is you can never find anything. Hey, I think I would have rehearsed this better. Anyway, we do have a part in here. Here it is. For taking the tire valve out. And we do have the Harbor Freight thing for breaking the bead, which is super handy. Since we're going to replace this, there's no reason to try to save it. Putting those 90-degree tire valves on, and I've used the ones from Curvy Girl for so long, they work perfect. And because I check the tire pressure every time I ride the bike, and it's a personal thing, I just don't want to be, I don't want to make it any harder than it has to be. Once you pull this out, I always save these even though you don't have to. That's going to let the air out. We're pretty much done with that right now. I'm not sure we're going to need the rim protectors on this, but it's always nice to have your tools organized so you have a tub. We need that one. Old school. Now, if we're really cool, and I know you can't do this, sometimes you can break it with your bare hands. In our case, we resort to nothing but the best. Good old-fashioned Harbor Freight. Their bead breaker, I'm pretty sure it was about 20 bucks. I don't even remember, to be honest. Works perfectly. There you go, done. Or if you have some real big, giant friend that's a football player or something, See, what I like to show is, because all of us backyard mechanics, we're always trying to do things without spending too much money. And I just happened to be at a motorcycle dealer the other day, and they were advertising their prices for changing tires, and I said, wow, I could get rich changing tires. And then the guy changing your tires takes him about 10 minutes. There you go. Done with that. And as cheap as this tool is, it works perfectly. It's Harbor Freight. And it really doesn't matter what kind of soap. I just do to make it easier. What kind of soap you use, dishwashing. This is Simple Green. Since we're going to clean this wheel before we put the new tire on, may as well just let the Simple Green sink in. Now, may as well try these just for laughs. I don't know if they're any better or worse than what I had. They're Moose Racing. I got these from Circle Cycle. When I was over there, because I had asked Glenn, which last time we did tires, I think we did Glenn's tires, and even though these are not high-tech painted rims, I don't want to googe them up if I don't have to. And the idea is always to keep your knee down here so the disc goes up into the crevice. If you do that, the rest of it is pretty easy. Now it looks like Moose Racing just jumped right out. Look at that. He's so happy to have the tire changed. Anyway, I don't claim to be an expert at doing this, but it is. When I think I'm charging $160 to change a tire, I think, wow, that's kind of a rip-off. Now, there's several ways to get it off from here, and I'm not sure using those Moose things. I wanted to use these just to see how they worked. Now, if I had painted tires, painted rims, these have the factory paint or powder coat or whatever it is. When they have the factory paint on them, usually, well, in this case, we're going to paint them gold anyway over the winter, I think, based on what Rob wants to do. And I was just trying to use this as kind of a little demo, even though we don't have to. I wanted to see how these work. I guess they work okay. Pete, you're okay. Anyway, I'm not sure that even if we had a, if we had a tire changing machine, it would go a lot easier. I know Luciano is really good at changing these tires. He can beat me to the punch every time. Anyway, that's nice and smooth. We didn't chip anything up. These are and I don't think they're real critical, but I always like to give people credit. I got these at Circle Cycle. Let's see, they were $10. And they have a string so they don't fall into the tire. We're not going to need them putting them back on. We're going to put the tire on with duct tape, hopefully, if we can get it hot enough out there. Remains to be seen if it stays sunny. And it really doesn't matter what kind of soap. I just do to make it easier. What kind of soap you use, dishwashing. This is Simple Green. Since we're going to clean this wheel before we put the new tire on, may as well just let the Simple Green sink in. Now, may as well try these just for laughs. I don't know if they're any better or worse than what I had. They're Moose Racing. I got these from Circle Cycle. When I was over there, because I had asked Glenn, which last time we did tires, I think we did Glenn's tires, and even though these are not high-tech painted rims, I don't want to googe them up if I don't have to. And the idea is always to keep your knee down here so the disc goes up into the crevice. If you do that, the rest of it is pretty easy. Now it looks like Moose Racing just jumped right out. Look at that. He's so happy to have the tire changed. Anyway, I don't claim to be an expert at doing this, but it is. When I think I'm charging $160 to change a tire, I think, wow, that's kind of a rip-off. Now, there's several ways to get it off from here, and I'm not sure using those moose things. I wanted to use these just to see how they worked. Now, if I had painted tires, painted rims, these have the factory paint or powder coat or whatever it is. When they have the factory paint on them, usually, well, in this case, we're going to paint them gold anyway over the winter, I think, based on what Rob wants to do. And I was just trying to use this as kind of a little demo, even though we don't have to. I wanted to see how these work. I guess they work okay. Pete, you're okay. Anyway, I'm not sure that even if we had a, if we had a tire changing machine, it would go a lot easier. I know Luciano is really good at changing these tires. He can beat me to the punch every time. Anyway, that's nice and smooth. We didn't ship anything up. These are and I don't think they're real critical, but I always like to give people credit. I got these at Circle Cycle. Let's see, they were 10 bucks. And they have a string so they don't fall into the tire. We're not going to need them putting them back on. We're going to put the tire on with duct tape, hopefully, if we can get it hot enough out there. Remains to be seen if it stays sunny. Now these are the Curvy Girl. The reason I put this on is I had already changed the back tire a couple of months ago. And they come all different colors. They also come two different sizes. They come 8mm and 11.3. And everybody I know, including Aaron, including myself, including, I think, even Glenn, no matter what you order from Curvy Girl, it comes the opposite size of what you need. So my suggestion was order both of them, order both sizes, and just pay the $1.50 shipping to return the one you don't need. These guaranteed are right because I used the other side already. Now I got to get rid of the old, and these are the kind you got to clip. Now you really don't have to clip them, but I say that. I'm a mean guy. Sometimes you can do it this way. Let's see if it's our lucky day. We don't really know if it's our lucky day. It's never. We're gonna clip it. I'm lazy. So hot out there. Just trying to get things done. There we go. I'm not going to use these anymore. That's gone. Now I want to make sure that's nice and clean. This is nice and clean. There's a little bit of a trick to this, just a tiny little trick. And we want to put one drop of Loctite on this. One drop. Lucky me, it's right. Never leave your Loctite at home. It's a mistake. Now, it's not a great idea to put a Loctite on any aluminum stuff because it's so strong. Sometimes you break the aluminum trying to get the part off. But in this case, if this leaks from inside the wheel, and it's got a little rubber gasket on there, and boy, these things make life so easy. Now, I also want to figure this out. Which side is the side we want to... Boy, you think I would know this by now. Which side is the speedometer? There's no speedometer on this bike. Which side does the wheel go on? I wish we would have an arrow here or something. Do we have an arrow? Oh my God, this is a pain in the ass. Now it's going to be, I got to go figure out which side this wheel turns on, although it looks exactly the same both ways. Shame on me. There's no arrow. Let's see, is it symmetrical? Is there an arrow inside the wheel? No. Boy, they got you screwed here. Well, it really doesn't matter which side because I can do it from both sides. But if I had a choice, I would want it to be on the outside. I want it this way if possible. Again, this is not the end of the world if I got to go to the other side of the bike to check it. The thing here is to tighten it, but not over tighten it. Because if you over tighten it, it's very, very easy to break it. I'm always afraid of breaking it too. You know what? I'm not going to do this with a wrench. I'd rather have... Oh boy, I'll tell you, being prepared in this hot weather. See, I don't want to get such a amount of leverage on it that I can't feel it tightening up. This way I'll get a better feel because I'll be right in without any leverage. I like that to be 90 degrees. The test is if you can't turn it this way, it's probably tight enough. Okay. See, the problem, if I grab this with this wrench, I got so much leverage, I know these things are delicate. Yeah, that's great. Okay, so we're done with that step. Next step is to clean the wheel. And I had never even given this a thought, which side, because usually there's a speedometer drive or something. Or on the disc itself, there's an arrow. That's amazing. Now, you know what it must be. I guess I learned something here. I guess it's a symmetrical wheel. I guess it can go on either side. Wow. Kawasaki, you've outdone yourself. Wow, is that cool? No, there's no arrows on the disc on either side. So I'm trying to learn something here. So I guess if you have one of these bikes, you can put the wheel on, turn it that side. Who knows? I'll get some feedback. So now, the first thing I wanted to do, and I can do most of this off camera, before I even try to mount the tire, I want to clean everything because it's easy to clean it right now. Simple green the whole thing down. Get some paper towels. Clean this puppy up good. I usually spend a little more time, and I know you don't have to do this, it's just me. I like to get this area where the tire seats as clean as possible. Because a lot of these old wheels, this one is not, of course, but they're really in rough shape, and I just think it's a potential place you could lose some air. Look at the stuff that comes off, even on a relatively, this bike's only 7 years old. A bike 7 years old is a new bike. And this bike is one of my favorites. Believe me, I love riding this bike. I have had more fun for almost no maintenance. I mean, this is the third set of tires, and I think just under 20,000 miles. I'm not sure. I got to check. I got to put it in my logbook at the end of this. I think it's about 17 we got on it. But now, interesting. I really don't know. I may have to go back and redo this if I can't figure out if this wheel goes on both ways. But it sure looks like it does. So, you know, Luciano probably knows. Probably everybody in the world knows except me. That's the problem. All right, now we're going to go get the tire. Now, just to mention this is Gorilla Tape, not duct tape. There's a predetermined way to do this. Get this almost to the bead. And since these tires, they really don't tell you where the heavy spot is. There's no red dot, as Glenn found out. And this tire is not really as hot as I'd like it, but hey, life isn't perfect. And I found in the past that 4 pieces of tape seem to be ideal. At 12. Now, if the tire doesn't go right on, as I suspect it should, it'll mean it's not hot enough, and I'll just put it out in the sun some more, or do it out in the sun. But in the winter, this saves us a lot of work because we got to put that heat box. It's a lot of work doing that. I like to show this in real time. I know Vince has done this with a lot of luck. Glenn has done several of them. You want to pinch the tire as much as you can. The side that you're not going to go on, put plenty of soap. You can soap both sides, it doesn't even matter. Simple green. Okay, let's make sure we're going in the right direction here. We want to go that way. And now there's always the test. Is it our lucky day? Is it our lucky day? Let's make sure we're going if the right rim was that way. At the right way, that's the right way.
Oh, that one was a bitch! What a bitch! $160.
It's all in the muscle. Anyway, that's very typical of how Michelin tires mount up. And the hotter you get them, the easier they are. I like doing that so much. Now, this is another tip, something that you really have to pay strict attention to. And in the past, I haven't, and I've paid the price. You got to get the whole piece of tape off. You can't leave some in, especially where it's sealing with air. I got soap on my hands here. You know, but the idea of all our videos is just to pass on information. We're not trying to do any really super high-tech stuff, but if you're looking to do one of these yourself, I think the information we have is pretty useful. And if you come up with a better way, and the cool thing about YouTube, there's a million different ways to do this. Or if your friend has a tire machine, buy him a pizza, let him do it. But see, I'm just lazy. For me to drive to Luciano's house where he has a tire machine, the problem is, for me, it's an hour of driving. And I just like to have everything in-house if possible. Plus, I got to tie up an hour or so of Luciano's time, and let's face it, you know, time is money, especially in my income bracket. I'm worth about a quarter an hour right now. But this is the reason I'm putting this on the video, is you got to get this piece off. And that thing about the Kawasaki, that front wheel thing, they try to make it tricky. See, I think what their motive is, they want you to think, I better go to Kawasaki and buy that tool. And probably the tool's 20 bucks or 30 bucks. But everybody's already got one in their toolbox. Okay, so here we are. Tape is off. I wanted to show this in real time. Bore you to death. New valve stem is on. Tires going in the right rotation. You got to basically just get this to seat. Go get the compressor to pump up to 100 psi. Kind of beat it in. And then, of course, balance it. Beat this in by hand. We go turn the compressor on. Now, the Power 3s, again, I've had the Power 2s on the back of the R1 and the back of the FZR, and I really like the way they handle. Now, this tire has a little bit sharper profile. It should have a little bit better turn in. We're going to find out in a couple of days. Well, we could find out today if I wasn't so tired, but got to get ready for the baby to come over. Sometimes these seat right up. Sometimes you got to bounce them around on a floor. These are nice fresh tires, by the way. Motorcycle Superstore was the supplier. Let's see if we pop it. Oh! I've been shot by terrorists. The Michelin terrorists. You hear that noise, you pretty much know you got it, but I like to get it up to about 50 psi. Then I do overkill. This is overkill, as I always do. Everything is overkill. Check the bead. Just for fun. No special reason. Run some Windex along there, see if you see any bubbles. If you do, let the air out and reseat it. Since I'm going to wipe this whole wheel down before I balance it, that side looks pretty good. Even Luciano be impressed. Oh, my finger. I don't know why I'm in such a good mood today. Baby's coming over. It's going to be Hex, Bugs, and Grandpa Windy in about an hour. So let's see what we got cooking here. Not a bubble in sight. Wow. Do the valve. All the curvy girls usually come nice and tight. That's that. I don't want to have any of that in there. Okay, put the cap on. wipe this down, go get the tire balancer, and see if it's our lucky day again. And so far it's been pretty good. Now of course we use the balancer to paint wheels, but of course it's made to balance wheels. So the first thing I want to see is how bad this is. And I do the how bad is this test. Not bad at all. Not bad at all. I'm totally amazed. That's amazing. Now, I just wanted to mention that years ago, and actually more than years ago, I would spend here and just put, 2 grams here and 3 grams here and cut one of these little things in half. And, you know, I have found that to be unnecessary. Luciano told me years ago, it's just got to be close. If it's close, you don't have to worry. Now, what I did to prove it to myself, and it was my own thing. I had a weight on one of the bikes, I think it was the FZR one day, one of these stick-on weights. I had spent hours getting it right. And I know when we went to track day, you had to put a piece of duct tape over it. And I did that. And it used to be, I was always worried the thing was going to fly off and hit somebody. And I rode the bike, and then I said, I'm taking that off. And I rode the bike again, nothing changed. No vibration, no funny tire wear, no nothing. So I think the answer for me is, if it's close, and this is certainly close, nothing's making me crazy here. These little, no, as soon as you wear the edges off of this a little, and the way we ride, as soon as you get an aggressive ride in and get some of this rubber scuffed in, it's going to change that much anyway. So anyway, that's ready to put back on the bike. Now the part of it that can always be a pain in the butt. You want to find out, I'm curious myself to see if this really is, if it's a symmetrical wheel. The problem is you could put it on backwards and the tire would be mounted backwards. So I don't know if, well, I don't know much. So. Anyway, I checked the spacers. They're exactly the same on both sides. So you would think maybe they had something in mind here that I'm not sure of. I'm not sure what that is. And I need to remember, both of the spacers go in there. And see if it's our lucky day. If I can hold this up, yeah, I probably can. Get the axle ready. This is the part that, boy, if you had a helper, it's so nice. That spacer's in. This one's in. Oh! I wanted to show this how this really works. Now, this is one of my tricks, being this is going to be a tricky thing. I like to sit down. I'll show you why. It just makes the geometry of everything easier. Let me see if I can make this work. Keep that here. The trick is you got to get it up and get that spacer in here. All right. Once it's up there, get the axle in. Of course, the axle is a little tricky to get in. And then you gotta, that's it. Whoopee, who knew I was an acrobat? And you thought I was an old man. Yeah, right. Okay, the only thing left, tighten everything up. We'll clean up all the bolt ends, Loctite everything, and put this baby to sleep. What's left now, one minor little detail. Put the brakes back on. Let's get rid of this. I always get these up out of the way. And this has something it hooks into. By the way, every time I work on a front wheel of tightening anything or Loctiting it, I always want to see that it spins free. Take my little wood pieces, and by the way, they work great. Use these over and over again. If you can get them out. I pounded these in so hard, they're difficult to get them out. Look at this. There we go. Oh boy, oh boy. Nothing's ever easy, my God. It's got to stick in there. Well, it's good that it shows this. We're trying to help people. Sometimes it isn't pretty. And then you know that when things don't go smooth for you, you're very normal. But the idea of that is so these don't flop together, so you can get that right back on. Get that in position. Let's get one of the bolts. It's Loctite here. So I'm really hoping that some of this information has helped you figure out some of the projects that you're able to do on your own bike. When I saw that thing about the tire change, I will not mention the dealership. It was $60 to change a tire if you buy the tire from them. And if you didn't buy the tire from them, it was $160. I said, wow! Oh man, would I like to be making $160 every time I Gorilla tape one of those tires on. Wow. But now I just got to get the torque wrench out, torque that down, and we're ready. Well, that was about as painless as a tire change I've ever had. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed the video. Again, say it over and over again. Share the information, share the fun, share the passion, and it's time for us to go get our grandson. So thanks a lot for watching. So you think we just make great motorcycle modifications and paint work? We make, what do we make, Miles? Hex bugs! Look at that shirt. Check that shirt out. Wow, he's got a custom Wes Cooley shirt. Wow. Wow.